Good morning. My name is Bob Shawman, and as you can tell by the rank insignia, I'm a former Navy commander who served during the Vietnam era and in the 1980s. I'm currently a trustee on the Board of Trustees of the Cathedral of the Pines, and I'm honored to offer today a Memorial Day perspective. I'll hold up the American flag, Old Glory, the Stars and Stripes, the Star-Spangled Banner, the American flag, the good old red, white, and blue. Whatever you wish to call our American flag, the rich history of the flag, originally sewn with 13 stars by a 26-year-old seamstress, Betsy Ross, in Philadelphia in 1776. With the addition of Hawaii in 1960, the American flag now proudly waves with 50 stars, each representing the 50 states and commonwealths that comprise these United States. The flag has undergone many battles. The New Hampshire Capitol building in Concord houses the Hall of Flags. Over 100 American flags, tattered, torn, with bullet holes, that have been carried by New Hampshire men into battle in the Spanish-American War, World Wars I and II, and even in Vietnam. Men died in these battles, yet their pride was evident. Patriotic fervor flew high, just as these American flags flew high over the men who carried them into battle. And some of these men died while carrying Old Glory into battle, holding the Stars and Stripes high while American soldiers pushed forward into harm's way. During the Civil War, one of the most important jobs of the military was the protection of the American flag as well as the individual unit flags. Men called color sergeants, this was their title, was not a reference to people of color. These men were placed in charge of the American flag and the unit flag. The flags were not only important parts of the individual units, were also objects of great pride. Soldiers would risk life and limb to ensure the safety of the flags, to ensure they would not fall to the ground. They were entrusted to protect the flag during the hazards of battle. The waving of the American flag, carried by the color sergeants, was a morale builder and served as a beacon for soldiers to follow. Our military men, and more recently our military women, have died in some of our more recent nation's battles. But as we look into the past, whether it was against the British in Revolutionary War times, or during the Spanish-American War in 1898, or against Germany in World War I, or the Axis powers in World War II, North Korea in the early 1950s, Vietnam in the 1960s, and perhaps more recently in our memory, Desert Shield in 1990 and Desert Storm in 1991, or the numerous skirmishes in Afghanistan and Iraq in the 21st century. Old Glory has always been there. During World War II, the American flag emerged once again to rally and inspire the nation in the time of crisis. On the battlefield and on the home front, the flag symbolized the values and freedoms for which the nation was fighting. The famous picture of 5 United States Marines and 1 Navy corpsman raising the American flag on top of Mount Suribachi on Iwo Jima set off whistles, gunfire, and celebrations by soldiers and Marines on the beach and in the jungles who fought the Japanese in one of the fiercest battles of World War II over a 5-week window in February and March of 1945. Now, what many may not know is the famous picture that we all know was not the first flag to be planted on Mount Suribachi. An earlier smaller flag was initially planted, but from below in the jungles and on the beaches, it was hard to see. A senior officer had ordered the first flag to be replaced by a larger flag so that more people could see it flying high over the island. That classic picture, captured so well in the United States Marine Corps War Memorial in Arlington, Virginia, is what we see in our nation's capital. Yet we remember the 6,800 American servicemen who made the ultimate sacrifice in defense of these 48 United States. The USMC War Memorial represents this nation's gratitude to Marines and those who fought beside them. While the statue depicts one of the most famous incidents of World War II, the memorial is dedicated to all United States Marines, who have given their lives in defense of the United States since 1775, the year the United States Marine Corps was formed. Yes, once again, the raising of Old Glory as depicted in that statue. Fortunately, after nearly 4 years of fighting in World War II, peace returned to the world in August of 1945 with the surrender of the Japanese aboard the Navy battleship USS Missouri. By the end of the war, the flag, Old Glory, had become the emblem of a superpower, with a mission to promote democracy around the world. Something about which you may not be aware. The American flag, of course, is worn proudly by our military. The flag always appears with the stars on the upper right-hand side instead of the left side. This creates the appearance, especially on aircraft, that the flag is streaming like a real flag, flying with the wind and not against it. As a sign of patriotism, something else that you may not be aware of, besides the fact that the American flag flies on Memorial Day in May, Flag Day in June, and the 4th of July in, of course, July, when 9/11 occurred, American flag manufacturers had to go to 3 8-hour shifts each day for several weeks to meet the demand. So high was patriotic fervor. The American flag has unfortunately come under assault. During the contentious Vietnam War in the 1960s, perhaps no issue epitomized the controversial nature of the American flag more than flag burning. When some burned the flag to protest American government policies, others rushed to defend the flag from attack. State laws against flag desecration, originally passed in the late 1800s, were revived and enforced. And in 1968, Congress passed the Federal Flag Desecration Law, making it a federal crime to knowingly cast contempt upon any flag of the United States by publicly mutilating, defacing, defiling, burning, or trampling upon it. The patriotism of the flag is not limited to just the military, however. 2 apparent protesters ran out onto the field at Dodger Stadium in the summer of 1976. After dousing Old Glory in lighter fluid, the father and son attempted to light the flag with a match, but not before the Chicago Cubs' Rick Mundy ran over from the field and snatched the flag to safety. Mundy, who had spent 6 years as a Marine Corps reservist, said, "It angered me what they were trying to do with the American flag." This was 1976. It's our bicentennial year of our country. The crowd, after realizing what had happened, cheered their approval for Mundy and broke out into spontaneous renditions of "God Bless America." It was 5 years ago that my wife Diane and I visited the American Cemetery above the beach at Normandy. It was a beautiful, sunny, warm day. The American flags flew high above the graves of 9,385 American dead who gave their lives for their country. Although many of the dead were identified by name, rank, armed service, and the state from which they came, over 300 graves simply said, "Here rest, in honored glory, a comrade in arms, known but to God." That day I had a lump in my throat, the size of a softball, while walking around hallowed soil. Old Glory, I salute you, and the hundreds of thousands of American soldiers, Marines, Navy, Army, Air Force, and Coast Guard personnel who, over 245 years, have sacrificed their lives so that today, on Memorial Day in 2020, we have the freedoms in America that mean so much to us. That freedom should never be taken for granted. The price in blood and tears that our military has paid should overwhelm each and every one of us. Freedom is not free. The next time you see an American flag draped over the coffin of a deceased military veteran whose body has been returned to America from the battlefield, observe the ceremony of the folding of that flag before it is presented to the family of the loved one who was lost in battle. Remember them and the American flag for which they fought. It was a return to the United States, an Old Glory that flies over our free country to which they most wanted to come home and did, yet didn't. Remember them always. Thank you.
Detail 10 Hut. Present Harms.
Done.
Detail right face. Prepare to fire in honor of our fallen comrades. Ready. Aim. Fire. Ready. Aim. Fire. Ready. Aim. Fire. Left. Face.
Order. Arms.